Hi, everybody. My name is Tammy, and I am a prison wife. Dan actually confronted me a few days ago and asked me if I would answer some questions in relation to being a prison wife. And I have no problem doing it. So this is going to be in regards to that. So I'm just going to go through these questions. I believe there's 4 of them. I'm going to try and make it as short as possible because I don't want to bore you guys to death. But this is just my views on being a prison wife, how I came to meet my husband, what other people think about our situation as far as like family, friends, and just people on the outside that don't really know us. So I'm going to just dive right in. Okay, so first question we have here is, what was it like the first time that you went to visit him? So I have been with my husband since May of 2014. We got married in November of 2014. And the first time that I actually went to visit him was in August of 2014. I would have to say the first time that I went to visit him, I was nervous. I wasn't nervous about meeting him per se, but I was definitely nervous about going to a prison and just everything about, I'd never been to prison before. So it was very new and different and kind of scary to me. I didn't know what to expect. Like how to check in. Like, I mean, I tried researching as much as possible, but I would say that was what I was the most anxious about, was the actual going to a prison to visit someone. But once I got there, I actually met an older gentleman that helped me. He showed me where to go to get checked in. Like, he kind of like put my nerves at ease a little bit. And then, of course, once I saw my husband, I just immediately was comfortable. I wasn't nervous, and everything just, flowed smoothly from there. So that is my answer for number 1. Second question we have is, did you tell the people in your life about being romantically involved with somebody that was serving federal prison time? First of all, my husband is not federal. He is state, here in Washington State. And I did not tell any family members that I was talking to anybody that was incarcerated until right before we got married. My mom was actually staying with me at the time, and she was being a mother, and she knew something was up because I was constantly on the phone, but I wouldn't tell her who I was on the phone with. And she kind of just was started asking me more and more questions about it. And finally, I just broke down and I was honest, and I told her, yeah, I met this wonderful guy. He is incarcerated. He has been incarcerated for a long time. If you guys don't know me, I do have my own YouTube channel, and I talk about our journey. My husband has a 28-year sentence. He's done 15 years in February, and we're going through the resentencing process we're going through the resentencing process for it right now. So we're actually in the Supreme Court, and he's already gotten his sentence overturned through the appellate court. So he should be resentenced this summer, which is super exciting. But yeah, I told my mom right before we got married, actually. And so she was there when I got married. And his family, I met his mom before we got married. I met his cousin. I talked to his dad, but I'd never met him until we got married. My other side of the family lives in California, so they are further away from me. And my dad raised me, so I was a little nervous about telling him. And so I honestly didn't tell anybody on that side of the family until after we got married. I called my dad and I said, "Hey, I got married and he's in prison." And my dad reacted very differently than my mom. My mom had actually met him before we got married. She went and got on his visiting list, and she went to a visit with me, and we played Scrabble and whatever board games they have there, and she got to know him really well, and she really likes him. Um, and it's like I said, it's almost been 4 years now, so she definitely is used to him and everything now. But my dad, yeah, it took him about a good year to accept the fact that I was married to somebody that was incarcerated, and I just remember him specifically saying, "I never thought my daughter would marry somebody that was in prison, let alone somebody that's in prison for a murder charge." And my husband is in for a second-degree murder charge. Um, he had He was 19 years old. Against counsel's advice, he didn't take the plea, which was 9 years in manslaughter, and so he took it to trial, got 28 years in second-degree murder. So that's his charge. I'm not really scared about saying it because there's recent articles about him here in Washington because of his case. So yeah, that's a little lengthy answer for that. Sorry about you guys. Let's see. So yeah, my family honestly is super supportive of my relationship, and we've been together for a while, so, and we're married, so they know that, this is like a lifetime thing. It's not something that I'm giving up on or, it's going to go away. It's like, this is my life. So they're super supportive. My mom is the only family member that's met my husband. Like I said, my dad's in California, so we don't plan on, going and visiting him until after he gets out. So then he'll meet my dad. My brother is in Hawaii, and he'll meet that side of the family then. So I'm kind of like excited, for them to meet him. Yeah, it'll be nice. So, and then friends, like I've been really lucky because I hear a lot of stories about women who are just judged left and right from friends and family members for being with somebody that is incarcerated. And I've gotten really lucky because out of all of my friends that I've told over the years, I think there's only been like maybe one or two that have been judgmental about it. And they're people that I'm not really close with, like a few people that I knew in high school, and I had posted a picture and they're like, is that a prison picture? And, I've never lied about anything. So I told him, yeah, my husband's incarcerated. And she's like, how do you know he's not using you? So, and went on to like that subject. So I'm going to cut that off there. Let's go to the next question here. What is the biggest fear that you have about dating somebody in prison? So me personally, I have no fears about being married to somebody that's incarcerated. A lot of people, I think, they think that maybe you just talk on the phone. If you get a visit, it's a non-contact visit for like an hour or two, and you don't really have that much communication. But here in Washington, we're especially lucky because we get up to 3 visits a week. And those visits where he's at now are 9 hours. So we've literally, like normal, I'll go on the weekend and have a 9 hour visit. And then Friday after work and Monday after work, I would go and, spend a couple hours with him and like, have dinner together and chit chat for a little bit. So, I mean, that's like 10, 11, 12, 13 hours on average, about 13 hours of face to face, being able to talk and like, you can still hold hands and like, be affectionate towards each other, to a degree. But yeah, so we have that. We have something called JPay where you can actually email. You can send pictures. They can actually send pictures to us as well. And then we have something called Videogram, where you can actually send 30-second videos to them as well. And then they have video visits. So if you cannot make it to visit in person, it's kind of like Skyping or FaceTiming, I would say. It's 30 minutes. For us, I think it's like $11 per 30-minute video visit. But there's a lot of options that they give you in order to communicate with your loved ones. So it makes it really nice. And so, phone calls, we budget our phone calls, but we talk twice a day, every day, sometimes 3 times. We have our in-person visits. We have our emails, which we email every day, like sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. So we do talk a lot. And my mom always says that we talk more than most couples do in the free world. So it definitely makes it nice. I know a lot of states aren't like that. A lot of states have really short visits. They don't have as much like freedom, I guess you would say, as we do, or as many privileges. So I definitely feel lucky that we have those options. So yeah, and like going back to it, I don't have any fears about being with my husband. I know a lot of women, they get really scared that when they get out, they're going to leave them or they're going to start using drugs if they're an addict. My husband isn't a alcoholic. He's not a drug addict, so I'm definitely not worried about that. He's made connections over the years to where he already has really great jobs lined up. He's worked on nonprofits since he's been in there. He's got his college degree since he's been in there. So he's got a lot of different areas that are open for him when he gets out. So that I think is definitely going to help us a lot when he's out. Okay, and then some people say that women who choose to date men in prison are avoiding some kind of insecurity. Is this a misconception? And if so, what do you want people to know about that? So I think that this is very much one of these things that is judged extremely, especially if you're in the prison wife community, like the Facebook group, prison wife Facebook groups. In that community, you get a lot of women, especially women that knew their boyfriends or husbands before they went in, that judge women that met while incarcerated. Um, I think that there is a good portion of women that meet men in prison because they do have some sort of insecurity. I can tell you right off the bat, I know somebody, well, somebody that my husband knows, but we were at a visit at the same time, and she thought that her husband had a life sentence. Well, they changed a law here about 3 years ago, I want to say, where if you were a juvenile when you were convicted, I believe it's you have to serve 15, 20, or 25 years depending on your crime. And then you're eligible for early release because we don't have parole here. And so this guy just found out like about this bill and he was super excited and he was, telling his wife, "Oh my God, I'm going to be able to come home. I don't have to spend the rest of my life in prison." And instead of his wife like rejoicing and being super excited about it like he was, she broke up with him. Like she told him like she's used to her routine. She's used to coming and visiting him, getting their phone calls, knowing where he's at all times, that she just couldn't deal with it. Like she couldn't deal with it. So, yeah, that's just one situation that I've heard of. Probably hundreds of them, definitely, that I've heard of. But I definitely think that there's a lot of women that are insecure, whether it's about their body, maybe they've gone through domestic violence situations where they're just really, really insecure, or they're really guarded as far as meeting somebody. And I feel like they think that if they meet somebody that's in prison, they have control over that situation. Like as far as like how deep they want to go with that relationship, or like, how far they can distance themselves from that relationship. So I definitely think that there is a good portion of women that do have insecurities and they do make men in prison for that reason, you know. So that's how I feel about that. Um, and then last question here is, how did you meet him and what was the initial attraction? So I met my husband on a pen pal site. I was living in Tennessee, Chattanooga, and I'm from California originally, and I was working and I was just feeling definitely out of my element. I just had people that were very rude to me because as soon as I started talking, they immediately asked if I was from California, and they just got nasty with me. And I felt really just like out of place. And so I was like, you know what? I have a friend that actually emailed somebody, or they did the pen pal thing. So I said, I'm going to try it out. Like, that's cool. At least I can talk to somebody, have a friend to talk to, be there for somebody that might need, an email or a letter every once in a while. So I went onto this website and it was called, I can't even think of the name of it right now, but it's a pen pal, like prison pen pal website. But I went onto that website, and what attracted to me to his profile was what he said. He's super funny guy, very sarcastic, and his picture, he looked like a nice guy, like he was cute guy, but yeah, it's just what he said like made me laugh, and that's what attracted to me. I'm definitely one of those people that I'm attracted to humor. I love a sense of humor and somebody that's funny and has a good personality, and that's what got me to write him. I wasn't never looking for any sort of romantic relationship at all, at all, at all, at all. And it was just a friendship. The first email I sent him was like, "Hey, my name's Tammy. I'm living in Tennessee, just like the basics or whatever." And then we started talking about music. We had like the same taste in music, and just like so we're both really into sports and that sort of thing. And I'd always lived back and forth between California and Washington, and we were kind of from the same area, and we're similar ages as well. So that's definitely like what attracted me to like want to start talking to him. So yeah, that is how I met him. And like I said, that was in May of 2014. About 3 months later, I moved back to Washington to go back to school. And that's when I met him for the first time. And then 3 months later, we got married. And here we are, like over 3 years after we got married, and everything is amazing. We haven't not had any problems. If we ever have any disagreements, we work it out over the phone. We don't hang up on each other, what like a lot of couples do. And that's probably a story for another video, right? how to deal with fights and that sort of thing if your loved one is incarcerated. But anyway, I just wanted to give my feedback on these questions to help out Dan, and I hope you guys have a good one. All right.